Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. We're certainly pleased to have everybody here in attendance. Today is Tuesday, April 17th, and we'll start our meeting by introducing you to your City Council.
Councilmember Selberg.
Present.
Starr.
Here.
Staley.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Erpenbach.
Here.
Kiley.
Here.
Neitzer.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
Councilors, as always, thanks for being here. We certainly appreciate it. In Sioux Falls, we lead our City Council meetings with an invocation, and we're really pleased to have Major Thomas Riggs here, who is with us with the Salvation Army, and thank you for the difference you make in our community. We certainly appreciate it. What we'd ask is that stand for the Major's invocation, please, and then please remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Major Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's pray. Eternal God, today we give you praise and we thank you. We thank you for these men and women who give of themselves in the leadership of our community. We thank you, Father, also for the men and women who bring concerns before this body, that it may be addressed, that they may be lifted up. So we pray your blessing upon us, that your Spirit would guide us in the conversation, that your Spirit would lead us, that we would deal with things that give glory to you and strength to our community. We ask these blessings in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. I've got some special proclamations that I'm looking forward to reading. And I'm going to start with Seroptimist Days. Thank you. Thank you. Please come forward. And if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself along with any other guests that you want to bring forward.
I'm Leona Wieland, and Annalise is with me. The others are at a meeting.
We'd love it.
We meet tonight, so right now we're at this, and then we go and get ready for our 5-state conference that will be at the end of the month here in Sioux Falls.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thanks for being here. The proclamation reads, whereas Seroptimists work to improve the lives of women and girls through programs leading to social and economic empowerment in local communities and throughout the world. Whereas one of the club's projects, the Toy Lending Library of South Dakota, has been so well received that it now has 5 locations from which patrons can borrow any of the 350 toy or book boxes. Whereas a series of free resource workshops called Transitions, Women Venturing into New Opportunities, is beginning its 4th year at Bishop Dudley Hospitality House and also the Center of Hope, and covers important topics such as women's safety, budgeting, and nutrition. Whereas the Seroptimist International Sioux Falls is hosting this year's 5-state North Central Region Conference from April 27th through the 29th of this year. Now, therefore, I am Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim April 27th through the 29th, 2018 as Seroptimist Days in Sioux Falls, and congratulate the Seroptimist International Sioux Falls for their continued service to the community. Let's give them a round of applause, please. Hi, Joe. Come on forward. And now, anybody here with National Volunteer Week, if you'd come forward. Welcome. Please come forward. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. We appreciate it. Susie, would you mind introducing everybody, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
We have lots of volunteer managers here. I am Susie. I am with the Helpline Center, our volunteer center in the community. And I might just pass the mic if you're okay with that.
Please do.
My name is Dakota Jordan. I'm the volunteer coordinator at the banquet.
My name is Val Leitz, and I'm the activity director at Active Generations.
Jessica Schulte, RSVP program coordinator at Helpline.
Stephen Dahlmeyer, events manager with Downtown Sioux Falls.
Nona Bixler, Volunteer Director at Sanford Medical Center.
And I'm Natalie Paff from the Alpha Center, and I'm the Client Care Coordinator there.
All these folks are making a huge difference in our town, and it's with my honor. I'm very happy to read this proclamation. Whereas every community member can affect positive change with any volunteer action, no matter how big or small. And in South Dakota, 240,933 people volunteer annually, making us fourth in the country for volunteerism. Whereas volunteers can connect with local community service opportunities through hundreds of community service organizations like volunteer centers. Whereas millions of volunteers working in their communities utilize their time and their talent daily to make a real difference in the lives of children, adults, and the elderly. Whereas during this week, all over the nation, service projects will be performed and volunteers recognized for their commitment to service. Whereas the giving of oneself and service to another empowers the giver and the recipient. Whereas experience teaches us that government by itself cannot solve all of our nation's social problems. Whereas our country's volunteer force, which is over 62.6 million people, is truly a great treasure. Now, therefore, I'm Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim April 15th through April 22nd, 2018 as National Volunteer Week in Sioux Falls, and I urge all citizens to volunteer, just like these folks and their teams. Let's give them a round of applause, please. Hey, Clay, would you mind coming forward, please? Ben. It's another fun one. Colleen, you want to bring, let's bring forward Sonia. Yep. Sonia, come forward, please. Sonia, welcome. Come stand by. The proclamation reads, whereas volunteers in Sioux Falls are vital to the city's future as a caring and productive city. Whereas to recognize volunteers, National Volunteer Week will be observed across the nation and in Sioux Falls during the week of April 15th through April 22nd. Whereas the annual observance of National Volunteer Week offers a chance and a change to thank the many volunteers throughout Sioux Falls whose work and compassion add so much to the quality of our city. Whereas Sonia Swenson is one of these volunteers and works for the city of Sioux Falls. Sonia is an outstanding volunteer who shares her time and her talents while demonstrating compassion and dedication. Whereas Sonia has assisted several city departments and continually demonstrates an enthusiasm for her volunteer service. Whereas Sonia's dedication to her work with the city is appreciated by all those she has helped and has enriched the lives of all those whom she has worked. Now, therefore, I, Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, recognize the contribution of Sonia Swenson and that she has made to the city and do hereby proclaim April 17th, 2018 as Sonia Swenson Day in Sioux Falls, and encourage all residents to express appreciation to Sonia and other volunteers for their commitment to service. Please, let's recognize Sonia. She's very, very talented. Mom, Dad, can we get a picture in here? Come on. Get in here first. Sonia, would you introduce your mom and dad, please?
Karen and Mark.
Karen and Mark.
This is Mark, and this is Karen, and their mom and dad. and they're special people just like you are. So again, hearty congratulations. Let's also congratulate Mom and Dad, too. Councilors, thank you so much for that opportunity. We appreciate it. We'll now move to our consent agenda. Any motions, changes to that, please?
Move to approve.
Second, Rolfing.
Council Chair Kylie's made that motion, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Yes. Councilor Neitzer, sir.
Thank you. I'd like to pull 3 items from the consent agenda, if I
Very
could.
good.
The first is item number 1, approval of contracts, the Bishop Dudley Warming Site Agreement for $120,000. The second will be item number 2, which is the item deferred from last week, the approval of 2 contract awards. And the last will be item number 15, which is a property tax abatement in the amount of $2,335.49.
Councilor Neitzer, thank you. Yes, Councilor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would also like to pull one of the contracts from the memo dated April 13th. It's the item under entertainment venues, Sioux Falls Stadium Improvements Professional Services Agreement for Walker Consultants.
Very good. Thank you. Very good. Any motion on the other items?
I have a motion. You have a motion.
We do have a motion.
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry. Thank you very much. Then we'll vote on the remaining items, please. Go ahead.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you, councilors. Now our regular agenda tonight. Any changes to that?
Motion to approve.
Second, Erpenbach.
Council Chair Kai has made a motion to approve our agenda tonight, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Council
Mayor,
Chair?
Motion to remove item number 40 because it is a duplicate of item number 39.
Second.
It has been seconded. We will now vote on the amendment, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Any more motions? We'll now vote on the amended motion, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That is also passed 8-0. Thank you very much. Folks, welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. So pleased to have you all here. This is the public input portion of our meeting. If there's anybody who wants to address the council, please just come forward, introduce yourself with your name, and then please, if you can keep your comments to 5 minutes or less and address the body as a whole, the council would appreciate that. Welcome.
Bruce Danielson. I'm coming up here tonight to have you ask your city clerk to start talking to the remaining campaigns about campaign spending limits. It's been reported that there's a questionably legal series of $1,000 donations from minor children of a local family. Funneling money through a minor children into a campaign has been a criminal offense in the past, and I'd like to have you find out from the city clerk and have a ruling on is it still illegal, excuse me.
Thank you. Welcome.
Scott Ersman, Sioux Falls. I was listening to the Land Use Committee meeting earlier today, and one of the counselors said that it was okay for Sanford to take out a lot of affordable housing because of all the great things that they've done for our community. And while I will agree, Sanford has done some great things for our community, but they didn't need to tear down all that affordable housing. They could have built their house expansion out where the sports complex is. They own the land. They could have built out there. Avera realized this and said, you know, we're not going to tear down these neighborhoods anymore. And they decided to build out where they own the land and had the room to do it. So while Sanford has done great things for our community, tearing down the affordable housing was not a great thing, and I wish they'd stop doing it. As I understand it, we've been getting a lot of oral reviews from the Public Assurance Alliance about the Falls Park, several, year after year after year. And the one thing I couldn't figure out is, wasn't there anybody from the fire department, the police department, the risk management department, the parks department, or the public works department that had a piece of paper and a pen that they could take notes when they got these oral reviews? And then I thought, well, maybe the city's short on pens. Well, I used to wait tables, so I got tons of pens. So I brought some pens for them, and hopefully you guys can come up with the paper. And the next time they get an oral review from the Public Assurance Alliance, they can actually write the stuff down. That would be helpful. I was listening, I watched you guys 8-0 vote against the alcohol license of the movie theater. I was talking to a lot of different people in the community about that, and I guess I'm sorry I didn't come up and view my opinion about that. But I was shocked that you all voted against it. The city actually makes money from selling alcohol at shows at the event center. We actually used part of the siding settlement to build more beer coolers out there so we could sell even more alcohol. It's easy for someone that's over the age of 21 to hand off to someone at a show at the event center. You can do it at the Pavilion. You can do it at the Orpheum. You can do it at a lot of different places. So it really shocked me that we were so concerned about a private, I guess it's okay for the city to have alcohol licenses and to allow this stuff to go on. But if a private business owner wants to do it, oh my, little Johnny might get some alcohol. But what shocked me the most was I was listening to public radio last Sunday morning, and the Nestle Food Company wanted to take water from a public water source. So they had to get permission from a government body, and it was this in Michigan. So this public body decided to have online comments. They wanted to know from the public if it was okay for Nestle to take this water that they were going to put into bottled water and sell. They were going to take 400 gallons a minute from the public water source. I know, it's pretty shocking. So they had online comments. And I thought, hey, that's something Sioux Falls should do. This is pretty cool, have people come online and make comments. They had 81,000 comments about this. And you know what's crazy? Only 75 of those comments were for letting Nestle take the water. And guess how the government body voted? They voted to let Nestle take the water. Isn't that crazy? And sometimes I feel that way sometimes when we're up here and there's public comment and people say things and we ask to be heard and we're not heard. We weren't heard on the administration building. We weren't heard on the downtown parking lot. We were never heard. It's like 80,075 people telling you not to do something, but the 75 other people said it's okay, so you vote for it. And it's disappointing with the movie theater too, because all over the country, all over the world, they allow drinking in movie theaters. And I just thought, we always call ourselves a big town. Whenever we need to borrow money to build things, we got 180,000 people. Let's use that to bond more money to build things. But all of a sudden we turn into Mayberry when somebody wants to sell beer at a movie theater. It amazes me. So are we Mayberry or are we a big city? I don't know. You realize that when the state theater gets finished, they're going to want to sell beer and wine. And I just think this was bad. It set a bad precedent. I feel sorry for the guy. I don't even know the guy that owns West Mall. But I hope in the future you guys really think this out. Because if he can't sell alcohol, then we need to stop selling it at the event center, the Orpheum, the Pavilion, any other place that sells alcohol where minors are there. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
I can bring paper next week, too.
Folks, anybody else? Welcome.
Hello, Council. This will be my first time addressing you. I wrote a pretty lengthy letter, but I've only got 5.
Just your name, please.
Oh, sorry. I'm Joshua Hall.
Hi, Josh. Welcome.
Yes, nice to meet you. I'm relatively new to Sioux Falls. I moved here about 5 years ago from Mississippi. I started a business here, and I did that because I really love calling it home. I feel like the community here is strong. You spoke about the volunteers earlier, and they really are helpful with things. But when the city snow plowed yesterday, they blocked my driveway completely, 3 feet of snow that turned into ice. And I may not look it, but I'm disabled, and I couldn't get through it. I tried for about 15 minutes, but I just couldn't make anything budge. So after that, I called the city. The city told me that it was my responsibility since it was in my driveway, even though they had put it there. And they hid behind an ordinance, 96.127, the Snowgate City Ordinance. And I'd like to just read that kind of quickly so that everybody understands what it reads. The city of Sioux Falls shall use snow gates or other devices to prevent snow in an amount that prevents usual access from being plowed or placed into driveways or their openings to public streets from or after November 1st, 2013. This section shall cover city employees and contract employees. Snow gates are discretionary upon the declaration of a snow emergency on routes that have been declared snow emergency routes. Now, people, when I kept calling council members and the manager of snow plowing, I was continuously told that it was discretionary, but it says specifically on emergency routes. And I'm not on an emergency route. I live on the corner of 32nd and Euclid, both of which are not emergency routes. Now, they told me that snow gates break, and we're breaking the plows, which is understandable, but the ordinance specifically says, or other devices to prevent snow. I believe this ordinance was written to protect people and allow them safe access to the streets in case of emergencies. That's what this ordinance was created for, not for the city to hide behind when they put snow into people's driveways. So I would like the council to maybe look into this ordinance, and if the verbiage does allow that, maybe it should be less confusing, because to me, it says it protects me and allows me to have access to the street. I was not able to get to a doctor's appointment yesterday. I was forced to rely on my neighbor, who was kind enough to plow his own vehicle into it and break his bumper off. And sure, you can say I can rely on my neighbor, but I shouldn't have to when the city put the snow there. I feel like if I put snow into the city's property and asked them to hire a contractor to remove it, I would probably be cited. Otherwise, I think I could probably make a pretty lucrative business out of doing that. I do appreciate you for hearing me out. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it. Folks, anybody else?
Greetings. I'm David Zokaitis, and I'm here to talk about how we could make the City Council a little more transparent. The consent agenda, we use it every week. It seems like a great way to get stuff done. You get a bunch of relatively minor, uncontroversial items, you group them together, and you discuss them en masse, and, you know, it's all done. It's approved. That's great for uncontroversial minor issues. But the question is, what's on the consent agenda? I've never read one. There's no hard copy here, and it'd be nice to have a hard copy so that people can know what you're voting on. The secrecy behind the consent agenda can potentially hide bad policy because nobody knows what's going on. Online, at this particular website, the city publishes the regular agenda, minutes, and some videos. I would think that that would be a marvelous spot where you could publish the consent agenda so that people can read it if they're curious. So my recommendation is relatively simple: more transparency, publish a consent agenda, or maybe even print it so people can grab a copy when they come in here. I've also noted that the agenda seems like one long document, and I'd like to recommend that you divide it into 3 sections to make it a little more workable. I've noticed that our business here is largely 3 different categories. Alcohol, licensing, that seems to be quite the big time commitment, and we also talk about zoning a lot, and then there's everything else. Miscellaneous didn't sound like a good category, so I called it city business. Anyway, if you break the agenda down into those groups, I think it would be more manageable and a little easier to work with. I have noticed that the online agenda frequently references an ordinance. Well, if you click on that link, you get to read the ordinance. And so I'm commending the clerks in this city for providing that transparency there. And I've kind of noticed that sometimes public input at the second reading is maybe too late, because I think decisions are made before the second reading. So if public input was allowed at the first reading, it might have more value because people are still thinking about stuff, and then you're more likely to influence decisions. And my two daughters believe in enjoying winter just as much as I do. Saturday, they invited me out for a nice little winter walk. So there's my two kids and her daughter, or the dog. Sunday, we went out also, so here's a nice little bonus picture of a bridge along the bike path. And with that, I bid everybody a good evening.
Good evening, David. Thank you. Folks, anybody else?
Stephen Ciano. I've been sending you some letters. I'm going to read one. Over here, subject, attack now reported to police. Request the matter be addressed so as to protect the public as your jobs before building projects. Details. I was attacked starting in California in '76 for my beliefs and my Asperger's related differences by USN personnel, causing my disability with PTSD in '78. The attack used a label and rumor of homosexual. So I was labeled homosexual, and they attacked me and threatened my life. Upon my consequent disability, I was discharged on a disability, and the attack, which was the basis of my disability, concealed, leading to many problems, including homelessness, more attacks, and eventual physical disability since 1999. My citing PTSD and physical bases due to malfeasance by USN personnel wrongly denied since '78 by VA, SSA, and others, despite the evidence, led to an attack on me locally since 2002, which included further mislabeling, misrepresentations, denial of access, further harm, loss of income, and a roof over my head, obstruction to my right to acknowledgement of my condition, my needs, and an attempt to cause my death through prolonged, covert deprivation of my financial, housing, and medical needs while reportedly directing $300,000 to a third party in my name through fraud under color of law. The attack is a continuance of former attacks for my beliefs and lifestyle differences, as well as for my disability. I have attempted to get medical and other help on multiple levels, including city entities. I have been reluctant to report this to you, even after Ms. Moran directed me to, as she years ago claimed that her job is to defend complicit city personnel, as opposed to disabled people seeking help for discrimination. More recently, working for FCH and SFCC, she, rather than report to police or other herself, upon collecting much information on this case, directed me with a history of people dismissing my reports to report separately to you. I have made multiple presentations to the City Council at public input and have revealed that I feel that their conduct is criminal. I want a state or U.S. attorney or FBI or special prosecutor sought by you if it is within your authority to do so. As also I've said previously, your actions can result in further harm and death to me and others. And I did bring up some other names. Other veterans have died. and other disabled people have died. We need and deserve oversight and accountability. Please make sure that this gets to the mayor and that he perform his job too. I have suffered so long and seen others die as I was expected to, well, this I added afterwards, as I was expected to as a result of the assault on me. I hereby send this to many involved or who perhaps should be involved. Some with the title of advocate have refused to do so and have instead joined the assault. Until such crimes against disabled people, veterans, and others, while those claiming and taking money for protecting us refuse to assist, are acknowledged, exposed, and prosecuted, we continue to be threatened. This was sent to our state's attorney and federal people. It's sent to Washington, our representatives. I'm including the local level and up to the federal level. So this is out there, and I've tried to cover all bases pretty much, to use a baseball metaphor. So I hope that you will.
Stephen, thank you very much.
Thank
sir.
you.
You bet. Thank you for your service. Folks, anybody else?
C.R. Broussard, Sioux Falls. So I've been, if you look at my Facebook, I put some videos out there on businesses and the police not doing their job. So we've been working with the homeless people and these drug addicts and putting them to jail for periods of time here and prosecuting them, and I have to face the court system on these criminals here in the central side of town. Went to the Bishop Dudley house because these officers said that they have sat with the Bishop Dudley, and the Bishop Dudley is not cooperating with law enforcement. Murray's property is also not cooperating with law enforcement. I got a hold of the council member because he supported this money to fund the Bishop Dudley. The Bishop Dudley is a joke, and I'm going to tell you how it's a joke. And I think that y'all need to investigate with the tax dollars because I was in there. But being so Christianized there, they treat their clients like crap. In a couple weeks, I'm going to have the Bishop Dudley people here of all walks of streets of life come into public input, the first public input to talk about the Bishop Dudley. I went to the St. Francis house. It is ran right, very productive. Caseworkers there. People get you on your feet, get you out the door. The Bishop Dudley puts people into their facility overnight to sleep, pushes them out the door, and tells the police it's not a problem after they leave the premises. This is going to be a battle in itself. I'm trying to get these police officers, and I swear for Lord, I'm going to get them to come to public input to talk about this issue, the first public input, on what these officers went through with the Bishop Dudley not cooperating with criminals, their criminals in their facility. Now, I'm going to keep on in the central part of town and keep picking up these individuals and start prosecuting them, 7, 8, 9 state charges like we've been doing for a couple weeks now. Because Murray Properties and the Bishop Dudley is not cooperating. Now, when I went to the Bishop Dudley, we do not have any caseworkers whatsoever for these individuals at the Bishop Dudley. So how are you going to help these people to get their foot in the door and get housing and get this, that? So what I'm doing next week is I'm pulling these people from the Bishop Dudley house and we're going to place them somewhere else. And I want the Bishop Dudley not to have a soul into that building. Because they are using the city funds and it's not going for what is the city gave them the money for here. If we were going to get the money to the Bishop Dudley, we should have gave it to the St. Francis house. At least there's caseworkers there to get you out the door and get you on your feet here. I'm telling you now, 12 people in the judicial system in 2 weeks, all from the Bishop Dudley. Officers had sat last week at the Bishop Dudley, and they did not get no answers. They told them, once when they leave our property, it's y'all's responsibility. No cooperation from, and I'm going to mention the officers, so I'm not lying, Officer Hanson and Officer Watson. Call them. Tell them what the Bishop Dudley does to these officers. Call Officer Hanson and Officer Watson. And what Murray Properties does not cooperate with law enforcement. Now, I'm on the central side of town cleaning up. Businesses are calling me. Look on my Facebook. What is the police trying to do? Because I'm fighting them toe-to-toe because they're not going to win this battle. They're going to the businesses and saying to put no trespassing on me because they don't want to deal with me. When the businesses call the police for a failure to vacate, the police come, they don't do nothing about it. They call me, I get there, we call the police, and I say, well, what are you going to do here? So arrest is being made, citations are being dealt with, no trespassing are being done here. Go in my videos and you see for yourself on my Facebook of what the owners are talking about with the police doing nothing in the central side of town here. Talk to the policeman about the Bishop Dudley, saying that they're trying to cooperate. Let's try to find a motive to where we don't have to keep putting these people in jail every day from the Bishop Dudley. How can the Bishop Dudley help the police department? The police is not getting those answers. Murray Properties is a slumlord. Ask the police. The police have stuck down there on North Phillips Avenue with them. And we're told to leave the building. So we don't have no cooperation with Murray Properties. We don't have no cooperation with the Bishop Dudley house. So I think that starting next week, we're going to find these people places to go and bring them to the St. Francis house where they can get up on their feet, they can get a job in this, that, the other.
Thank you very much, Sierra. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Dan Aesop. I'm a resident here of Sioux Falls, and I don't have anything to complain about, but hopefully I can give some appreciation and encouragement. I'm a small business owner and a land developer, and I've worked with a lot of city planners and building services department. I want to say a special thank you to Mike Cooper and Brian Wilcox. I had an issue, and they came together, and we were able to figure out a mutually agreeable solution. I'd also like to thank my man Mike. Even though we differed politically when you started out, I voted for you, and I think you've done a swell job. So thank you, and best wishes to whatever you do going forward as well.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to speak to the incumbent government officials, as well as those newly appointed, and as well as those who will yet to be elected, like Paul Tenhaken for mayor. During the mayoral debates, many issues like crime, drug use, as well as national issues like violence, shootings, and racism are...
Sierra, go ahead, Dan.
Oh, it's not. No. I'm sorry, thank you. But many issues came up, and yet I don't feel that the real solution has been brought to the table. So I just want to read a quote from George Washington. It said, "Of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. In vain would that man claim the tribute of patriotism who should labor to subvert these great pillars of human happiness, these firmest props of duties of men and citizens. Let us simply be asked, where is the security for property, for reputation, for life, if the sense of religious obligation deserts the oath, which are instruments of investigation in courts of justice? And let us with caution indulge in the supposition that morality can be maintained without religion. Whatever may be conceded to the influence of refined education on the mind of peculiar structure, reason and experience both forbid us to expect that national morality can prevail in exclusion of religious principle." I believe that the founding fathers were probably a lot wiser than us, and so I kind of want to dumb that down. I think the 10 Commandments are a great thing. Don't kill, don't steal, don't lie. Even though judges have said time and time again we can't have the 10 Commandments in schools, I'm confused about thou shalt not kill. What part of that is harmful to children seeing that in our school systems? And so I have another quote from John Adams, our second president, who said that we have no government armed with a power capable of contesting with human passions and unbridled morality and religion. Our Constitution was made for a religious and moral people, and it is wholly inadequate to be the government of any other. And so I leave with one last quote here from Benjamin Franklin. In 1787, as he walked out of the Constitutional Convention, a woman asked him, "What kind of government have you given us, sir?" And he said, "A republic, if you can keep it." And so I believe that I've outlined some things that are very integral to moving forward at this level and also nationally, things that we need to do if we are to keep our republic. So thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Folks, anybody else? Very good. We'll now move back to the consent agenda items. Councilor Neisert, I'm going to defer to you. The first item you wanted to discuss was the Bishop Dudley House.
Yes, I just wanted to make a statement. I pulled this item so that I just wanted to say a few words. As a matter of tradition, we don't respond to public input. There's some good reasons for that. One of the bad things, however, is that untruths and outright slanderous statements are routinely leveled against good people and good organizations. One of those entities that has sustained some attacks recently is the Bishop Dudley Hospitality House, and I'm not just talking about tonight, I'm talking about previous nights as well. And I've also seen it at county commission meetings. There have been what I would consider unfair and defamatory statements leveled against this entity. It has been claimed that we do not have an emergency shelter in Sioux Falls. We absolutely do. One of them is a Bishop Dudley. They are there to provide a warm place to stay. All that they ask is that you behave. If you have a source of income, whether it be a job or governmental assistance, you're asked to pay a token amount for your stay. If you put others at risk or you're violent, you can't stay. One of the reasons I and others have such great respect and support for this organization is that they provide a hand up, not just a hand out. They require accountability. They work very hard to get people back to self-sufficiency so that they can live with dignity and independence. This is a great organization providing a vital service to our community. I'm proud that we fund this wonderful nonprofit, and I'm going to move approval of this contract, and I just wanted to make that statement.
Second, Urbanbach.
It's been a motion to approve this item. It has been seconded. Any other discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Councilor Neisert, you had item 2 as well, I think.
Yes, I did, and we've had some more information in the last couple hours, actually, and I guess I guess I'll just say for me, if others want to call somebody up, that's fine, but I've had a chance to look at this. We've all gotten emails in the last few hours which have shined a lot of light on this. As I've thought about it and I've looked into it, there are a lot of reasons why a government can reject the lowest bidder, and there's very good reasons for looking for what we would consider the lowest bidder who's also responsible. And there's things that taxpayers trust us to hire a responsible contractor to get the job done at the lowest cost, on time, and done safely and correctly. Minimum standards make sure the job is done right. Bid laws are there to protect the public interest, the taxpayer, not private entities, so says the Supreme Court. Governmental entities have wide latitude to decide who a responsible bidder is. We need to assure the taxpayer we get the lowest bid, but that we get it from a responsible bidder. Now, let me just say, one of our jobs as an independent entity is to ask tough questions and to be a check on the administration. That being said, we also have to know when it's time to defer to the experts. I am not an engineer. They are engineers. And so I have enough where I feel confident that I need to defer to their judgment. They do this every day of the week. And so if they feel that they have an issue with a particular bidder, I need to take that in under advisement. And so I am going to support the contract award to the second bidder, which is going to be our lowest responsible bidder. Thank you.
Councilor Neisert, would you mind making a motion on that?
Yeah, I'll move to approve this item.
Second, Urbanbach.
It's been seconded. Any discussion, Councilor Staley?
Well, I would like to extend an invitation to the attorney, Dan Renthrow, if he'd like to come up and speak to us, please.
Dan?
Thank you, Councilwoman. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I don't know if the ship has already sailed, Councilman, but the two items that I gathered were the concern last week with this low bidder were that there were payment issues and there were quality and completion issues. This particular contractor for this job is bonded with a company that has an escrow process for this job, and so there will be no question whatsoever about the subs getting paid, because they will get, the money will go to the bonding company first, and then to the subs, and then to the general. My concern last week was that the city was acting on incomplete information about the quality and completion of this contractor's jobs, including the most recent ones in the last 2 years. We extended an invitation to the city through its engineer and its attorney a week ago to answer any further questions and provide any further information to assuage their concerns. I've received 0 requests for any information whatsoever in the last week. Today, having received nothing further as far as a request, we took it upon ourselves to do the work that we thought that the city attorney and the city engineer should be doing for you, which is to ask the cities that hire this contractor what they think of him. And that's what we provided to you today. A letter from Vern Ahrens, who's a professional engineer, 41 years of experience, who I defer to with his expertise, who worked with this contractor on 2 jobs last year, and indicates that he would have no concerns as to their job quality and completion. I don't know what else to tell you other than that everything else that the city engineer is providing to you is speculation on the last 2 years. We're providing you with actual evidence. The second part of that, we provided you with a memorandum from the city of Mitchell. The city's public works director just this month approved the same contractor as a low bidder, and as part of that contacted the city of Huron to see if they had any issues with this contractor, and the answer was no. And so as a public body, if you're deferring to people that know what they're doing and know what they're talking about, I suggest that you have evidence in front of you that allows you to do that. One item that was not presented until the letters today, as far as clarification, the prior company that this contractor had ran into financial difficulties. He was one of the unlucky people to be a subcontractor on the Northern Beef Project. When he left that project in 2007, he was owed $2.1 million. He spent 6 years chasing that money and eventually collected $300,000 of it. You can imagine what that did to his company, and that's why he eventually had to start a new one with his son after several years of intervening time working for other companies. What I propose to you is that when you're facing a decision like this that can save the taxpayers a lot of money or cost the taxpayers a lot of money, that we need to be careful. And what my client has asked me to do, he's not here today. He's out west helping another rancher dig out 800 cattle so they can eat today. What I have been asked to propose to you is that this contractor would forego the water main project if you would give him the sewer project, allow him to save the city $65,000 on that project, give him a chance to do this work. I guarantee you, there's nobody that's going to do better work than somebody that's got all 16 eyes of the council on him over the next 4 months. $65,000 is enough to hire another police officer and do a lot of good for this city. And so that's about all I can tell you, is that we presented you with the evidence that I think that the council needs, that the engineer and the city attorney should have provided you along the way and never asked us for. Happy to answer any further questions.
Councilor Seeley.
I would like to ask Director Cotter to come up, please.
Mark Cotter with the Office of Public Works.
I'm not a contractor. Listening to the concerns that the city has from whatever sources you have, my question to you is going to be, what does this company need to do to ever be considered again to work in Sioux Falls? Or is the door shut forever for them?
Certainly not. And I mean, we also have our legal advisor here. We look at every project on its merits. We need to see in demonstrated completed projects done very well, completed on time, subcontractors paid, good workmanship, and the start of our concerns, as we talked about last week, is we have a history with the person that now previously owned a company that now owns this company, we have a history with multiple projects that you have in your inbox today that date back to 2001 that started our concerns. And then that's when we look at the body of, are there other municipalities that potentially we should draw from to see if we should be concerned. And I think our city attorney will add to that, because there's some public, certainly some public information that was available to us. And it helps us start to then do our due diligence to ultimately, one of the most important things we have to do is hire good contractors to make sure when they're working in the public's right of way, when they're working on the public's utilities, that it can be done well, done efficiently. These two projects, the sanitary sewer repair project is a critical project to us because it's one entity in the dependencies of the mill and overlay program. And so I know we talked about that last week, but just like we bid out the concrete repair work, so there'll be a separate contractor that does that work. There'll be a separate contractor that does the milling. There's a separate contractor that does the utility work. It's critical that we have the confidence that this work can get done well, and get done on time, because for this particular one, the entire program is 250 blocks. There's about 7 areas that are affected this year in the mill and overlay project that we've got to make sure that we can maximize every day of our summer to make sure we get that done. So we bid about 150 projects a year. We take these steps, as you know, very rarely, and we want to make sure that we make recommendations to you, that when we recommend someone to work in the public's right-of-way on the public's utilities, that we're confident that the work can get done.
But is there some amount of duration of years that, I mean, in 5 years will they be considered, or are they to take this that means forever out? I mean, that would be my concern as to what a company like this would need to do to get the trust back for the city of Sioux Falls.
No, they're not forever out, and I think that was, I'm trying to make that clear, but maybe I'll just state it again. We need to see demonstrated work that's done very well time and time again, so we can feel confident of having that contractor work in the public's right away. Every project is looked at on its own merits. There is no list of contractors that can't work in the public's right away, and I know Paul Bangford's here as well, and he could potentially speak to that if you need to. Anything else?
Councilors, any other questions? There is a motion. It has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
No.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That is passed 7-1. Thank you. Councilor Neisert, you also had item 15, I think it was.
Mr. Mayor, they pulled 2 items. It was to the lowest responsible bidder for 2 separate contracts.
We've done the voting on it?
Which one
Was the motion regarding both contracts? I just wanted to make sure we covered both.
Yes, item number 2 lists both contracts, so that was my intention, was to approve
Okay,
both.
thank you. I just wanted to make sure we didn't need to do another vote.
Okay.
Was there item 15 as well, Councilor Neisert?
Yes, so we had a memo about item number 15 earlier this week, and first of all, I just want to clarify that maybe the city attorney could answer that a yes vote would approve the abatement and a no vote would confirm what we did last time, which was to deny the abatement.
That is correct. The voting on abatements would be to be in the affirmative, so a yes vote would always approve the abatement.
Okay, I want to be really sure because it has to do with the denial. I just want to say that weeks ago this came to us and we approved it on consent. Approved the denial is what we approved, and then it went to the county. And watching that meeting back, they overruled, or they voted differently than we did, and they approved the abatement. And so now it comes back to us pursuant to state law. So we have to reconsider this item. And so we can either concur with what the county did, or we can vote the other way. And if we don't concur, then they have essentially a public hearing where the city, I guess, can be there if they'd like to. And because both the two units of government are in disagreement. So let me just say, for me, I have sympathy for the individual property owner. Obviously, I feel bad whenever somebody has to pay more tax than they have to. However, as I've thought about this, the issue for me is you've got to think about the public good and the consequences of your vote on the global scale. And if the message is going to be sent that if you don't get your form in on time, we're just going to overrule it and give you the abatement anyway, then there really is no reason that anybody needs to worry about getting their owner-occupied form in on time when there hasn't been anything presented of any extenuating circumstance. So my concern would be about the precedent it's setting. And I would also note in item 16, we just approved on consent a denial of another one in Lincoln County for the exact same reason, which was they just forgot and they didn't get it in. So I'm not trying to be hard-nosed, but I wanted to pull this so I could vote against it because I think it's in the public interest to confirm that you've got to get your form in on time, and if you don't do your homework, sometimes you got to pay for it. So I will move approval of this item, but I'm going to vote against it.
Second, Erpenbach.
There's been a motion to approve. It has been seconded. There's been some discussion. Council Chair Kiley.
Well, I do have a question about once the owner-occupied application is turned in by the taxpayer. Number one, can we assume that it has been turned in? I don't know that we have that information yet.
I don't know. We're talking about 2017 payable this year. I would assume they got the form in for next year, but that's not on the table, I guess.
That's correct. I don't know if the form is in for this next year, but for the abatement for the tax year involved, the form was not filed or not timely filed anymore.
Thank you.
Councilor Neisert, I apologize. Could you explain again? So you said this item was defeated last time?
No, so it was on our consent agenda on like March 18th, and the what it said was that it was to deny the abatement at the recommendation of the county equalization office. We approved that, so we voted to deny it. It went to the county, and I will mention that their reasoning was rather bizarre. It was a 3-2 vote, and with deference to my colleagues over there, their commentary was, well, nobody would not turn in the form, so we ought to give them the abatement. I don't know what that had to do with anything, but anyway, so they approved the abatement. They overturned their equalization office, and so now we're in this position that I don't know that I've ever seen before, where the two units of government are in disagreement. One says give the abatement, the other says don't, so then it kicks back to us to decide if we want to say, hey, let's give it to them. And if we don't give it to them, the county's going to we'll have the final say anyway at a special hearing.
Very good. So Diane, if the council votes no, then they're basically voting to deny the abatement.
They would be voting to deny the abatement.
Very good.
And then, as I understand it, the county then, commission would then have its hearing, and the city, it would be of record that the city had voted to deny, and then the county would make another decision.
And yeah,
very good.
We don't have to, I'm sorry, we don't have to be there, but as a county or as a city, but city staff can show up and dispute it if they want to. They will get publicly noticed.
Council Vice Chair Erickson.
Sorry.
Is the applicant here? I don't know if there's anybody representing. Seeing none, I was curious if there's more to the story with it or not. So seeing that they're not here.
Thank you. Well, councilors, before you vote, just to clarify, if you vote yes, then I guess you're voting to approve the abatement. If you're voting no, you're voting to deny the abatement.
Which we did before.
Which you did before. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
No.
Starr?
No.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
No.
Erpenbach?
No.
Kiley?
No.
Neitzer?
No.
Rolfing?
No.
That has failed 1-7. Very good. And then, Councilor Starr, you wanted to discuss a Walker study.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Welcome.
I would move to defer this item to May 2nd.
Second, Urbanbach.
There's been a motion to defer this item to May 2nd. It has been seconded. Any discussion, Councilor Starr?
Yes, absolutely. I asked earlier today, we received a copy of the CSL Convention, Sports and Leisure International report about public assembly facilities strategic planning that was dated April 11th. I asked that either someone from Parks or Facilities be here tonight. I received an email at 5:17 tonight that says, I don't anticipate anyone being there tonight to address this. Please share with whoever plans to pull the agreement that we have no objection to wait until after the consultant's report that'll be presented next week. And then thanks, Tracy. So we'll get a chance to look at the report next week and then have a chance to consider this item May 2nd.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Very good. Item 33.
Transfer of 2018 retail liquor license with Sunday sales from Bob LLC, Will's Training Table, 4021 North Bob Hollow Drive to Sanford Health, Sanford Foundation House, 2335 East 60th Street North, CUP not required. Pending plan review, a change in use permit, and final inspections per building services. 34. Transfer of 2018 retail liquor license with Sunday sales and video lottery terminals from the Brady Bunch Incorporated, Beefo Brady's, 2210 West 69th Street to Bob LLC, Will's Training Table, 4021 North Bob Hollow Drive, full services restaurant, cup not required. 35. New 2018 package liquor license for Robert Wentz Booze Boys, 502 South Cleveland Avenue, CUP not required. 36. Special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Stockyards Ag Experience, Stockyards Ag Experience Barn, 301 East Falls Park Drive, for a special event on May 1st, 2018. 37. Special one-day liquor license for Ramcota Companies Incorporated, Best Western Ramcota Hotel, to be operated at Avera Prairie Center, 1000 East 23rd Street, for a chamber mixer on May 8th, 2018. 38. Special one-day wine license for Downtown Sioux Falls Incorporated to be operated at the following locations: 605 Maid Market, 100 South Phillips Avenue, 8th and Railroad Center Lobby, 401 East 8th Street, number 200A, Atoli Salon, 317 South Phillips Avenue, Bead Company, Acorn, 319 South Phillips Avenue, CH Patisserie, 309 South Phillips Avenue, number 1, Chelsea's Boutique, 220 South Phillips Avenue, Conversation Piece, 301 South Minnesota Avenue, Creative Spirits, 224 South Main Avenue, Great Outdoor Store, 201 East 10th Street, Half Baked, 120 South Phillips Avenue, JLG Architects, 232 South Main Avenue, Luca's Boutique, 401 East 8th Street, number 122, Nyberg Ace, 200 East 12th Street, Parlor Ice Cream House, 340 South Main Avenue, Rayfeld's Art and Framing, 210 South Phillips Avenue, Rug and Relic, 401 East 8th Street, number 114, Say Anything Jewelry, 225 South Phillips Avenue, Scratch Pad Tees, 218 South Phillips Avenue, Sioux Falls Design Center, 108 West 11th Street, Simply Perfect, 401 East 8th Street, number 108, State Theater, 316 South Phillips Avenue, Sticks and Steel, 401 East 8th Street, number 118, Stockyards Ag Experience, 301 East Falls Park Drive, T.H. Gray and Shop Dog Boutique, 330 South Phillips Avenue, and Young and Richards, 222 South Phillips Avenue, for a wine walk on May 4th, 2018. Item 39, special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Downtown Sioux Falls Incorporated to be operated at 8th and Railroad Center parking lot, 401 East 8th Street, for East Bank block parties on June 1st, July 6th, August 3rd, September 7th, 2018. Item 41, special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Downtown Sioux Falls Incorporated to be operated on Phillips Avenue from 10th Street to 14th Street, Main Avenue from 10th Street to 14th Street, 11th Street from Dakota Avenue to Mall Avenue, 12th Street from Main Avenue to Phillips Avenue, 13th Street from Main Avenue to First Avenue, for hot summer nights on July 18, 2018. 42, special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Downtown Sioux Falls Incorporated to be operated on the River Greenway from 6th Street to south of 8th Street, including Raven Industries, Riverfront, and parking lot located at 205 East 6th Street. to include the prairie area between Phase 1 River Greenway and the Sharapa Place parking lot north to 6th Street and south to Sharapa Place for Downtown Riverfest on August 18, 2018. Item 43, special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for the Center of Equality to be operated at Terrace Park, 1100 West 4th Street for a special event on June 16, 2018. Item 44, special one-day malt beverage license for Jam Art and Supply to be operated at Sharapa Place East Parking Lot, 300 North Sharapa Place for 605 Summer Classic on June 22nd to 23rd, 2018.
Good evening, Jamie Palmer with licensing. Items 33 and 34 are transfers of retail liquor licenses. The item 33 would be, of course, pending plan review and change in use and final inspections. So for the time being, that license will be held inactive at that location until all of those items are met. Item 35 is a request for a packaged liquor license, and items 36 through 39 and 41 through 44 are all special one-day requests that have met the state law requirements. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Jamie, thank you. Councilors, any questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Starr.
Yes, I have a question for Jamie. I guess I'm interested in item 33 and understanding what the Sanford Foundation House is and what their intent is. I know we approve some of these sometimes based on review and plan review, but this one I'm intrigued by. Would the applicant be here that they could explain what they're doing?
Yes, I
That'd be
believe
awesome.
Matt is here.
Yep, right behind you.
Thank you, Matt Dittmanson, Director of Business Development, Sanford Sports Complex. So items 33 and 34 are connected, and so our intent there is to take the Beef O'Brady's license, transfer it to Will's, and park the Will's license at the Foundation House pending a new business venture that we are planning for next year. So it's basically a park and hold is what our intentions are.
What would the Sanford Foundation House be? Or, you know, we're transferring a license with trying to understand something that you're not probably willing to tell us tonight what it's going to be or timing-wise.
The Foundation House is just the parking facility for that license. The new business venture is included in our PUD plan that will be submitted to the City Planning Commission.
Are you a new restaurant, bar?
Yes, food,
type
beverage,
of
sports,
food and beverage?
entertainment venue.
So it wouldn't be run by Sanford in a Foundation House or a hospice or any of those type of things? It's another restaurant that's coming?
At the sports complex, correct.
Perfect. Thank you. That
You're
answers my question.
I would move approval. Rolfing.
Thank you, Councilor.
Selberg.
Thank you, Councilor Selberg. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 45.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, authorizing the mayor to execute and record quitclaim deeds of vacated right-of-way.
Mr. Mayor, if I may remain seated here.
Sure.
Item 45 is pertains to a situation. The council vacated 3 small parcels of right-of-way on the north side of East Arrowhead Parkway earlier this year. They're in the reach between Sycamore Avenue and Veterans Parkway. They've already been vacated. They're not needed for street improvements. The property owners have now come back and asked for the city to issue a quitclaim deed confirming that the city no longer claims any interest in the property that's already vacated. I have reviewed this. There is no legal objection. By law, the city does not have a claim to property the city has already vacated. According to the city charter, an ordinance is necessary to authorize granting the quitclaim deed. I would recommend that the council approve this matter.
Diane, thank you. Folks, anybody in the audience want to speak to this item? Councilors?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second.
Then a motion approved by Councilor Erpenbach, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson? Yes. Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 46.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending Chapter 51 of the Code of Ordinances of the city pertaining to new and expanding industrial electric company customers.
Good evening. Jerry Dungling, Public Works, Traffic Light and Power Superintendent. I'm here to present an ordinance that will allow the Public Works Director to present or to give a special incentive rate to new large load customers. This is a rate given to us by our power providers and passed right through to the customer.
Jerry, thank you. Is there anybody in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? Councilors?
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Selberg.
Councilor Rolfing's made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Selberg. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson. Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you, Council. Item 47.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Wednesday, May 2nd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 47. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located east of North Cliff Avenue, north of East 29th Street, and south of East 34th Street North from the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban and RA1 Apartment Residential Low Density Districts to the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District, number 8170-2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
Jason, good evening.
Jason, representing Planning and Building Services. Excuse me. This is an application by the City of Sioux Falls Planning Department. The owners are roughly 14 to 15 property owners within the Norton Acres residential subdivision. It is located in the Norton Acres area east of Cliff and kind of west of I-229. The purpose of this rezoning is these 14 property owners would like to match the current single-family residential use with the correct zoning of this property.
Jason, thank you. Councilor Starr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jason, I wanted to, if you could take just a second to explain how we met with the neighbors and what they were trying to avoid and why they're coming forward at this point of what they're trying to accomplish.
Sure, I'd be happy to. It's probably late last fall in October. We had a meeting at the park there north of 34th Street. Neighborhood meeting with several neighbors within the Norton Acres area. These neighbors specifically voiced concerns of their property being zoned for twin homes, duplexes, and single family. They have the desire to just do single family on their property. So then it was decided at that time that we could pursue them rezoning the property just to allow single family. I think they were mostly concerned of neighbors constructing duplexes and different things on the property. So.
And we did, I guess the thing, and we pointed it out that night, that I want to make sure that we point out again tonight, and we'll do it in a couple of weeks when we do this for second reading, but it's going to affect their property value if it's zoned for strictly for residential versus the possibility of doing duplexes, and they all understood that as part of the process. So I wanted to make sure that tonight that we include that the future potential of their land is diminished by this zoning. They can still come back to us as a council to change the zoning in the future. So they understood those two things, and I want to make sure that everybody understands that as part of this process tonight. So thank you.
You're welcome. Councilor Buck.
Thank you. Just to clarify, just for my own thought process, because they're coming as a group, the city is the applicant. Is that correct, Jason?
Yeah, we are taking the lead after the neighborhood meeting. The neighbors collected all the signatures with property owners that would like to be included. However, then we did the back end of it, of posting the signs, constructing these maps and things like that. So
generally, when we do something like this, there's a fee to the property owner, correct? Are we doing that with them? Are they paying for this as well, or are we?
No, this would be one of our no fee applications because we're rezoning the property to single family, which is the current use. So
wonderful. Thank you.
Councilor Stilly.
Was there any protest to this, or did you hear any?
To the rezoning?
Yes.
We heard several, as we go to this map, you can see we sent out lots of letters to neighbors that did not want to be included within the rezoning area. We got several calls on them once we explained what they were doing. It seemed like a lot of the other neighbors were very supportive of what these 14 or 15 property owners were trying to do.
Okay, thank you.
Council, would anybody want to set a date of hearing, second reading for this item?
So moved. Starr.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Starr's made that motion, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Thank you, Council. It's passed 8-0. Item 49, 50?
48.
48.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Wednesday, May 2nd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 48. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located north of West 12th Street and west of South Ellis Road from the AG Agriculture District to the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District, number 8173-2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 5-0.
The applicant and owner here is Jim Sukup. This is located north of West 12th Street and west of the South Ellis Road. It's just west of Cherry Lake Reserve's first edition. It's roughly 28.43 acres. The purpose of this rezoning is the applicant is looking at constructing the second phase of this single-family residential development with roughly 22 lots.
Jason, thank you. Council, would anybody want to set a date of hearing and second reading for May 2nd for this item?
So moved, Neitzer.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Knights has made that motion, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
And it's passed 8-0. Item 49.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Wednesday, May 2nd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 49. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located north of East 77th Street and east of South Cliff Avenue from the S2 Institutional Campus Plan Unit Development District to the RA3 Apartment Residential High Density District, number 8186-2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 5-0.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to recuse myself. Being an employee of USF, I feel that that is the appropriate thing to do.
Okay, thank you.
The applicant here is Neil Singer. The owner is the University of Sioux Falls. It is located east of South Cliff Avenue and north of East 77th Street, south of the University of Sioux Falls football stadium. It's roughly 4.40 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is the applicant is looking at constructing a 4-story, 68-unit senior living facility on this property.
Jason, thank you.
I'm
Yes,
assuming when
Councilor
you say senior, you mean seniors like me and not seniors in college.
That's correct.
Okay.
Would anybody want to set a date of hearing and second reading for May 2nd for this item?
So moved.
And I'll second it.
Council Chair has done that, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Thank you. Item 50.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Wednesday, May 2nd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 50. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located south of West 69th Street and west of South Tallgrass Avenue from the S2 Institutional Campus Plan Unit Development and C4 Commercial Regional Districts to the S1 General Institutional, S2 Institutional Campus Plan Unit Development, C4 Commercial Regional, CN Conservation, and REC Recreation Districts, number 8201-2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 5-0.
The applicant and owner here is Sanford Health. It is located at the southwest corner of West 69th Street and South Tallgrass Avenue. The entire development is roughly 178.8 acres in size. The purpose, though, of this specific rezoning is for the future Sioux Falls Lutheran School site. As you can see on the map on the right is located in that center portion. And then there's some recreation conservation area for their playground and future drainage areas on the property.
Thank you, Jason. Council, would anybody want to set a date of hearing for this item?
So moved.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Item
you got
50.
the date in there? Yeah.
Second, Selberg?
Thank you, Councilor Selberg. Appreciate it. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 51, please.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Wednesday, May 2nd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 51. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 309 South Joliet Avenue from the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District to the S1 General Institutional District, number 8206-2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 5-0.
The applicant here is Eric Wilson. The owner is Marvin Tripp. This is located at 309 South Joliet Avenue, just north of Arrowhead Parkway and west of South Foss Avenue. It's roughly 1.1 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is the applicant is looking at constructing an indoor recreation facility, and that will include a climbing wall that will take the overall height of this property upwards of 45 feet.
Jason, thank you. Council? Yes, Councilor Neisert.
Is that the reason for the rezone?
Yep, you're correct there. Indoor rec facilities are allowed in C2. However, the height limitation in the C2 commercial district is 35 feet. So they needed that extra 5 to 10 feet to do the climbing wall in this indoor rec facility.
Okay, that explains that. It seemed like an interesting rezone for that use. I will move a second reading. Neisert.
Councilor Neisert, thank you.
Second.
Council Chair, thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
Rolfing.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 52.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Wednesday, May 2nd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 52. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located south of West 69th Street and west of South Sundowner Avenue from the AG Agriculture District to the RS Single Family Residential Suburban, RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban, and CN Conservation Districts, number 8212-2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 5-0.
The applicant owner here is Clint Ackerman with Signature Companies. It's located south of West 69th Street and west of South Sundowner Avenue in the southwest portion of the city. It's roughly 67 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is the applicant is looking at constructing a single-family residential development along with some twin homes and then some conservation areas.
Jason, thank you. Yes, Councilor Neisert, sir.
Jason, maybe you can help me catch my bearings. It's been a little while since I drove down there, but is that C2 that storage unit facility? Is that what that is?
You're talking to the northeast, correct?
Yes.
The port, yep, that is commercial on the corner there of Sundowner and 69th, northwest corner.
That must be that there's an outdoor storage unit
That's
facility.
the port storage unit.
That's
yep.
what it is? Now,
Yep.
as I recall, the 69th Street ended right about at their driveway somewhere. They have a single-family home on the property still, I think. But so is 69th completed down through there, or is that something that the developer has to do, or?
Yep, good question. 69th Street is not completed. The developer will complete 60 or a rural section of 69th Street as part of this development.
And then we'll do the full build-out in the future when necessary?
Whenever it's in the 5-year capital improvement plan. So it's not located within the capital improvement plan. That's why then they have to construct half of it, and then what usually happens is they construct it and then they get some reimbursement on their platting fees, arterial street platting fees. So.
Got it. Move second reading, Neitzer.
Second, Erickson.
Councilor Neisert, thank you. Councilor Erickson, thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 53.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Wednesday, May 2nd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 53. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located at 196 and a half East 6th Street from the I-2 Heavy Industrial District to the DT PUD Downtown Plan Unit Development and REC Recreation Districts, number 8213-2018, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 5-0.
The applicant is John Jacobson with Confluence. The owner is Sioux Steel and the City of Sioux Falls. This is located east of North Phillips Avenue and north of East 6th Street. It's roughly 11.63 acres in size. Get my little clicker here. There we go. The purpose is for the future redevelopment of the Sioux Steel site, and then there's a little chunk of recreation that is actually Kiwanis Park that's owned by the city.
Jason, thank you. Councilors, would anyone want to set that date of hearing for this item?
I'll move.
Thank you, Council Chair, and thank you, Councilor Rolfing, for seconding that. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kylie.
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 54.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Wednesday, May 2nd, 2018 at 7 p.m. for item 54. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 160, zoning, subchapter parking regulations.
The applicant here is the City of Sioux Falls Planning Office. This is a amendment that you guys have seen quite a bit. We went to informational, we went to first reading, and that first reading, a minor change was pointed out by Councilmember Neitzer having to do with bed and breakfasts with obstructed parking spaces. We then asked that this be remanded back to the Planning Commission so we can make that change. We're now coming back forward to you guys again with that small change. Just a quick overview, this is just our ordinance to really address these large commercial motor vehicle sales lots. Just some examples, lots that aren't adjacent to single family would have less restrictions. They wouldn't have to put in interior islands, mark all their parking spaces. And then the motor vehicle lots that are adjacent to single family, those would require additional landscaping standards, increased buffer yards. An example would be one on the left. And then here's kind of a larger example. The motor vehicle sales lot on the left is one that we've dealt with at 41st in Minnesota. You can see that we added quite a few additional landscaping and buffer yard requirements. That's really what we're doing with this ordinance, and then cleaning up a few small things. So,
Jason, thank you. Council, would anybody want to set a date of hearing and second reading for this item?
Can I?
Oh, sure, Councilor.
Question, Jason. Our notes also indicate this has something to do with bed and breakfasts and parking for bed and breakfast. Could you explain that?
yeah, there was an exemption in the definition for a parking space for bed and breakfasts that allowed essentially a parking space can't obstruct another parking space, so you can't park a car here and then a car here. There was an exemption for bed and breakfasts that allowed that just because they don't have as much parking because they're an existing single-family home.
Parallel to each other?
No, they can go front and back just in bed and breakfasts. So we originally had taken that out. Councilmember Neitzer had made an argument that maybe that's something we should leave in. We went back and looked at it, and it seems like a good thing to leave in for these bed and breakfasts. So.
Got it.
Would anybody want that set the date of hearing?
So moved, Rolfing.
Thank you, Councilor Rolfing. Thank you, Council Chair. Appreciate it. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Council, thank you. That is passed 8-0. Item 55.
A resolution amending the 2018-2022 capital program.
Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, how are you?
Great, thank you.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for having me here tonight. My second time in front of you, last time I was pretty nervous. Hopefully I'm a little calmer tonight, so my apologies. My name is Morgan Jackson. I'm the fleet manager for the city of Sioux Falls. My apologies. So we're asking for an amendment to the budget this year because landfill currently has in the budget to buy a scraper. I have a picture of the scraper if you understand what it is. I had a, see it right there. Okay, thank you. On the right-hand side is a scraper that we purchased one last year, and we have in the budget to purchase one this year as well. The problem with the scraper is it is not multifunctional. It only works for one use and one use only. And the use is it cleans the landfill. It can be a dirt hauler at the same time, but that's all it can do. The cost in the units. Let me back up a second. Most landfills are going away from this type of unit due to the cost of it and it not being multifunctional. There's now only one vendor in the game that offers this unit, and when we purchased last year, we bought at a severe discount because it was 2 years old, but it was sitting on the lot in Billings, Montana. The vendor flew us out there, flew one of our supervisors out there and one of our lead mechanics out there, one of our mechanics out there to take a look at it at their cost, not ours. And they really wanted to move this unit, and we got a heck of a deal because nobody's buying them. What we want to go to is the haul truck and the excavator, which is on the left-hand side. That's what we like to go to. It's more versatile. We can use it more. And if you look at the overall cost between the two in today's market, to find another scraper out there at that price would be next to impossible. The scraper that would cost this year would be approximately $1,060,000 to purchase a new scraper. That is in the budget, but if you back up and say, okay, if we use the excavator and a hauler truck that we want to use, we're looking at $843,000. That's the difference. And on the top of that, at the same time, you have if you consider the rental costs we've used in the landfill as well, when we've had to use excavators that weren't available, the street department had them on the levee. The street department was working in the streets to repair our streets in our shortened summer that we're obviously going to have this year. Hopefully this doesn't happen again. But the overall savings is about $277,000 purchasing this unit over the scraper that is only single function use.
Morgan, thank you. Folks, did anybody want to engage the council on this topic? Very good, councilors. Councilor Urbanbach?
Thank you, and thanks for your presentation. The savings is if you buy the truck and you're buying both units together?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So not to get, I mean, yes, what we were asking to do instead of the scraper is purchasing the haul truck and the excavator.
That's remarkable. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would move approval.
Thank you, Councilor Urbanbach.
Second.
Thank you, Council Chair. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 56.
A resolution of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota to establish a pre-annexation agreement with the Pleasant View Acres Addition.
Mayor, Council, good evening.
Yes.
This is a resolution to establish the pre-annexation agreement.
And your name, please.
Oh, sorry. Albert Schmidt, City
Thanks,
Sioux Falls
Albert.
Planning Office. In the southeast quadrant, it's actually in amongst the Split Rock Heights neighborhood, actually. And so the location that we're specifically talking about is these current 4 lots. We've worked with the property owner for quite a few months now on trying to figure out the process here as they're looking for redevelopment potential of the site. And since it's not abutting, but it's inside our growth area, we go with the pre-annexation agreement to figure out the terms prior so that when redevelopment does happen, it's understood for both future owners and the city what's expected. So currently, you can see the location there. It's not abutting City of Sioux Falls, but there is an area where it's completely surrounded by current city limits. The area I've marked with a little star there is mostly surrounded by residential, but then also abuts some commercial to the northeast. This is the preferred plan right now in the concept area that we've drawn out in the agreement. And that's really all I have for you guys at this point.
Albert, thank you, folks. Anybody in the audience want to speak to this? Very good. Any motions?
Move to
Councilor,
approve.
or wait, I'm so sorry. Oh, Council Chair, go right ahead, sir.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Council Chair.
And I'll second with
Thank
a
you.
comment.
Councilor Neitzer.
I just want to say I did read over the agreement, and I do see kind of what we were talking about in the annexation task force, that it's kind of colored throughout, so I appreciate that.
Very good. Thank you. Councilor Staley?
Albert, I've got a question. So I'm just wondering, what's the trigger? I was looking through here, and it's not going to happen right away. What will determine when that does become formalized?
Sure. The annexation for this area was tied specifically to the annexation of the residential area to the southwest. So depending on how that area were to be annexed, then this area would come in, and that was either at if we got an agreement and they volunteered in, or if eventually, for whatever reason, the city initiated an annexation, then we just tied it. However, whenever that area came in, since it would be residential, that the rest of it would come in at the same time.
So could it be like 5 years from now, 10 years?
Based on our current annexation criteria, 5 years seems very unlikely to meet for that area to meet that area. But more realistically, it's probably much later than that. But I don't have an exact date for it.
But by entering into this agreement, they are aware that it could happen tomorrow, right? I mean, they're okay with it whenever it happens.
As long as it comes into that area. Now, the other areas that you typically talk about when you talk about cost, that most neighborhoods get concerned about, this has criteria in there for the water and sewer,
right,
so they know when
that
would be as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
That has passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 57.
A resolution declaring the results of the City of Sioux Falls Municipal School District election held in the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota on Tuesday, the 10th day of April, 2018.
Tom, good evening.
Okay, thank you. The purpose of my presentation, this is the official canvass for the election that occurred a week ago, April 10th. So I'll provide some information. and of course open it up to any questions you may have. So the election was held combined with the Sioux Falls School District. We don't report the school district results in this particular resolution. However, for the election, the purpose was to elect the mayor and 3 members of the council. There are some statistics in the resolution which show the final vote counts that were found after the counting of ballots on Tuesday night, and also provisional ballots. So pursuant to the canvassing board's report, no candidate received the majority of the votes at the election for mayor and central district council member positions. And pursuant to the canvassing board's report, Janet Brecky received 56.21% of the votes cast at said election and is hereby declared elected to the position of at-large council member for a 4-year term. That pursuant to the canvassing board's report, Christine M. Erickson received 66.81% of the votes cast at said election and is hereby declared elected to the position of at-large council member for a 4-year term. And that Rick Kiley, incumbent candidate who ran unopposed, is hereby declared elected to the position of Southeast District Council member for a 4-year term. In light of this, it's necessary to hold a runoff election as provided by law on Tuesday, May 1st, 2018, and the election shall be held for the 2 candidates in each race who received the highest number of votes at the first election. These are the races regarding mayor and central district council member. They are Paul Tenhanken and Jolene Letcher, and for Central District Council Member Zach DeBoer and Kurt Sale. Subject to your questions, that's all I have.
Tom, thank you. Folks, is there anybody in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? Very good. And if we could just remind anybody who wants to speak to this item, if they could please not make any, how would you say, Diane?
Any campaigning endorsements?
Campaigning or endorsements. Thank you. Welcome.
There's no campaigning endorsements. I was just trying to get some clarity, and maybe the clerk can speak to this. A 9-13-5, election not held in absence of contest. Certification of election issued to unopposed candidates. No election shall be held in any municipality or ward thereof wherein there is no question to be submitted to the voters or wherein there is no opposing candidates for any office. In case there are no opposing candidates, the auditor clerk shall issue certificates of election to the nominees, if any, in the same manner as to an accessible candidate after an election. This is kind of sketchy because we actually had the ballots out for all the other offices. So we had one candidate that was unopposed, and according to state law, when you have, like for the judges, when there's no judge on the no opponent to the judge that's on the ballot, then the candidate is still on the ballot so that they can be canvassed properly. In this situation, we have somebody who was on the ballot, or should have been on the ballot, but wasn't. There was a little bit of ink that could have been used. There should have been a mark for Mr. Kiley, and then there should have been a no, or something to that effect, just as we do judicial ballots. And so I have just this basic question about how do we explain the contradiction in state law and what's happening here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council on this topic? Very good. Tom, would you want to try to answer that, please?
Yeah, it's a question that's come up before in general. So if you are not opposed in a municipal election, you will not be placed on the ballot. The certificate that will be issued to, in this case, Councilor Kiley, is reflective of administrative rules of South Dakota, which do reflect, in fact, that he's an unopposed candidate, but they don't go on the ballot.
Thank you. Council, would anybody want to make a motion on this particular resolution?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Selberg.
Councilor Bach, thank you. Councilor Selberg, thank you. Congratulations to the winners and to those who made the runoff. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Council, any new business?
Move to adjourn.
And a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Has been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Sioux Falls. Make it a great night.